welcome to our installment of Museum Monday. As you know, this month we are focusing on buildings in Old Sacramento, and today we are going to talk about the Lady Adams building, which is right behind me. It's this yellow building. This building, like our city, has endured many tragedies and has continued to stand. Today, it is one of the buildings which houses a very well-known costume shop, so many of you have probably been here before, but it has a long history that actually dates back to the gold rush, just like many other aspects of Sacramento history. So, in 1849, a ship traveled around Cape Horn and arrived to Sacramento. That ship was called the Lady Adams, and it brought some German immigrants here to Sacramento. These merchants set up their business from the Lady Adams ship, and the owners of the business, and I'm going to try and get their names correct, but please be patient with my pronunciation, were Nicholas Theodore Stockfleet, Christian Imels, Frederick Bartels, Gustav Reinrich, and Julius Poltick. With the success of their business, they constructed a two-story building at this location on K Street, between the Embarcadero, what we now call Front Street, and 2nd Street. So it's in this location that they established it. The architect for the building was Julius Fielder, and the construction cost about $29,000 in their time. The merchants actually used pieces from the Lady Adams ship to construct their building, and it included the ship's brick ballast, and the ship's mast was actually set up outside of the building as a place where you could tie up your horses and wagon. And there's also a story, we haven't been able to find actual sources to confirm it, but there's a story that parts of the hall are actually still in the basement of the building as well. So a few months after the construction, 1852, the Great Conflagration of 1852 wiped through Sacramento. So this fire swept through the city, destroying about 80% of the structures in the city. Most buildings had been quickly constructed for the gold rush, and they used really easily found materials such as canvas and woods from the ships. The Lady Adams was one of the few buildings that actually survived, and it survived because of the brick construction as well as the iron shutters that you can see on the side of the building. Those iron shutters helped protect the building from the fire spreading. So by surviving this fire, it actually makes Lady Adams one of the oldest buildings here in Old Sacramento in the historic district. The oldest building in Sacramento, however, is Sutter's Fort, which was constructed in 1839. So it's not quite the oldest building in Sacramento, but it's the oldest in our district. Within a month of the fire, about 760 buildings were rebuilt following that fire, and most of them were made of brick and include the iron shutters that you see behind me with the Lady Adams. While the building survived the fires and floods that ravaged the city, the owners of the business of Lady Adams actually suffered some tragedies of their own. Poultice left the business and headed to Australia in 1853. Bartlett headed out on a round-the-world trip, and on his return, his ship caught fire and he died at sea. And then between 1861 and 1866, the remaining 3 merchants all died. So in 1861, the business had to declare bankruptcy with the first death of one of their partners, and it was then purchased by a company, Vogus and Coghill. They operated out of the building from 1861 to 1868. They also raised the building to its current level in 1865. So with all the floods happening, they did raise a big majority of the city, and they were the ones that actually raised the building. In 1868, the Mubis and Company purchased the building and operated out of it for a while. But like many of the buildings here in Old Sacramento, the Lady Adams building eventually fell into disrepair and was empty for a part of the time. And during the redevelopment project of the 1970s, the Lady Adams building was restored to its original glory and is a feature here in the historic district. The building is also registered on the California Historic Landmark Registry, and its number is 603. Like the city of Sacramento, the Lady Adams building has endured fires, floods, tragedy, and triumph, and it's still standing today. So it's a great building to celebrate. So thank you for joining us for Museum Monday, learning a little bit about one of the oldest buildings here in the city. And hopefully you can join us. We're having a special edition of our museum Facebook Lives. It's going to be on Friday at 4:30, where we will talk about arches. See you then.